I was born and raised in the deep south right next to Georgia. No, factually it's true. Oh, wait a second, this is... okay, machines hate me, I told you. Yes, they just messed up. There's not one slide is missing, but look, it was really deep south of the USSR. In the Republic of Azerbaijan, right next to the Republic of Georgia. Yeah. So, speaking of my homeland, it's just a funny story that my latest book, Deep Thinking, was about AI, my own experience, fighting, working with machines. The book before, 2 years ago, was called Winter is Coming. It was not a synopsis of Game of Thrones. It was about Vladimir Putin and the enemies of the free world. And while I was on the book tour, everybody wanted to ask me about chess and IBM Deep Blue. Now, when I'm touring with Deep Thinking, everybody wants to ask me about Putin. But I'll try to stick to the topic. I'm sure there will be a couple of questions afterwards, so I'll be very happy to answer them. So I'm not a politician, I don't duck questions. It might seem strange that the game of chess, ancient game, 1500, 2000 years old, God knows, it's, it's a perfect analogy of artificial intelligence, because when we talk about AI, we should remember that there's a letter I, intelligence. And what could be better than chess to demonstrate that? Surprisingly, a lot of people believe that chess is kind of the odd game played by nerds in the dark corner of the cafe. But to the contrary, when just you look at Hollywood always used it as the shorthand for smarts for their characters. Look, aliens play chess, X-Men, wizards. I can even mention vampires, not on the picture. Humphrey Bogart. It's an opening stage of Casablanca, one of my favorite movies. And for the chess geeks, if somebody plays chess here, I can tell you, because I studied this position, I looked inside. Yeah. It's a real opening. It's a French defense that was popular in the early 40s. Humphrey Bogart was a decent chess player. So, I can also mention that Alfred Binet, one of the co-creators of IQ test, at the end of the 19th century, he was fascinated with the chess players' minds, and he studied it for years, again, looking for some shortcuts to the secrets of human intelligence. Yeah, and it's not surprising that also game of chess attracted those who wanted to build intelligent machines. But as usual, the first one, as you could see, it's the Turk, von Kempelen's Turk, was a hoax. It was a big miracle at the end of the 18th century. It was touring Europe and America. It beat some decent players and also some very famous but weak players like Franklin and Napoleon. But of course it was a hoax. It was not a real playing machine. It was an ingenious system of panels and the sliding panels and mirrors, and a strong player was hiding inside. The funny thing is that today, more than 200 years later, almost 250 years later, the problem is the opposite. In the tournaments, we have other kind of hoax when the chess players are trying to hide a device in their pocket. So now you have to look for a computer hiding in the human body inside. Von Kempelen's story is famous, but the second one is Torres Sequeira. It's a very little known story about a mechanical device. Mechanical device in 1912 was introduced. It could play only with one piece, but it actually could make a mate with a rook. But still, it was you can say the prototype, the first computer. The most interesting thing is that the founding fathers of computer science, like Alan Turing and Claude Shannon, they were both had great interest for the game of chess, and they believed that the game of chess could be an opener for this ultimate secrets of human intelligence. And if one day chess computer plays well against the world champion or beats the world champion, that will be the moment of revelation. Few remember that Alan Turing actually wrote the first chess program all the way back in 1952, and it was a great accomplishment. But the most important one, that there was no computer. So it was just an algorithm that he used to play this one game, and he acted like a human CPU. So now it's important to remember that again, the founding fathers thought that the way AI will manifest itself is basically following the same path as humans. So it will be kind of the replica, the way we work. To the contrary to the expectations, actually it moved in the opposite direction with brute force. So now I entered the competition against machines in 1985. You could look at this picture. It's not 10, actually 32 boards. And I played humans, but as a matter of fact, the real game was against computers. There are 4 leading manufacturers of chess computers. At that time, there were some dedicated chess machines. Maybe some of you have them still, like, a piece of antique. And they had 8 models each, and I played 32. And I won all 32 games. But what's very important, it was not a surprise. Everybody thought it was a very natural result. And every time I look at this picture and look at these games, I have a sign. That was the golden age of chess. Machines were weak, and my hair was strong. 1985, June. 12 years later, I faced just one computer. Just one computer. By the way, people tend to forget that match in 1997 was a rematch, because I won the first one in 1996 in Philadelphia. Okay, I lost this match, but just to be fair, the watershed moment for the computer chess was not in 1997, but I would say in 1996 in Philadelphia. Though I won the match, but I lost game 1. Then I fought back, and I won 3 more games, winning the match 4-2. But the fact that machine was able to be the world chess champion in a normal chess game, that was already just like a big signing on the wall. The rest was a matter of technique, though I didn't expect IBM chess to do so much work and just to come back a year later with a stronger machine. But the biggest mistake, except not asking for stock options, 2 weeks of the event, and it rose something like $11.4 billion in value. Okay, but the biggest mistake was not reading the fine print. Because one of the problems in 1996 that I faced while playing Deep Blue was it was a black box. I didn't know anything about the opponent. And while preparing for the game, whether it's a chess game or soccer game or whatever, you always look at the games and some strategies used by your opponent. Now, Deep Blue, no information. Now, I tried to be smart, and I said, for the next match, we have to make sure that I will have access to the games played by Deep Blue. They said, absolutely. But the fine print said, played in official competitions. And of course, Deep Blue has not played a single game outside of the lab. So in 1997, I faced again the black box. Unfortunately, the roles reversed. I won the first game, and I lost the match. So, by the way, where were you hackers 20 years ago when I needed you? So I think that looking at front row, some of you maybe might not yet been born. The problem here, for me at that match was that I still treated the match as the great scientific and social experiment. Because I thought that would be great, just to actually check at what point human intuition could be matched or even just overshadowed by the brute force of calculation. And again, Deep Blue, even with this phenomenal speed, 200 million positions per second, pretty good speed for 1997, was anything but intelligent. The way Deep Blue played has offered us no input in the mysteries of human intelligence. It was as intelligent as your alarm clock. Though losing to $10 million alarm clock didn't make me feel any better. I just realized, I remember opening ceremony of the match when, actually the press conference, when the man who led the project said it's the end of scientific experiment, now it's about winning. Okay, that was definitely about winning and losing. So when I lost to Deep Blue, of course I wanted to play another match, and IBM retired the computer. Okay, I said they killed the only impartial witness. I was actually trying to find out what's happened with Deep Blue, just I couldn't. But lately, actually, I discovered now it has a new career. It's making sushi in JetBlue terminal in JFK. I love sushi, but I don't eat there. Yeah, guys. I don't know why. Yeah. So, again, that's the story was over for chess, and that's very quickly because, again, as I'm sure some of you playing chess is, whether it's chess, we talk about Go, about other games, humans are vulnerable because we don't have steady hand. We make mistakes. So even the great game played by the world-leading players at the very top World Championship match, say 50 moves, 45 good moves, 4 great moves, 1 tiny inaccuracy is inevitable. In the human game, it doesn't matter. In the fighting machine, you'll be punished. Not losing, maybe not losing the game, but definitely not winning, so machine will escape. So I just realized at one point that it just will be a matter of time, because we cannot reach the same level of vigilance and precision that is required to beat the machine, because machine has a steady hand. Again, we saw the same in Go many years later. Actually, lately, machine conquered the game of Go as well. But again, it was just about a game of chess, and the game proved to be vulnerable to the brute force. But it was not yet an AI as is being trumpeted by IBM and by still people remember the match saying, oh, it was the dawn of AI. Actually not. And later on, I played few more matches with the machines because when these days I analyze these games using the modern chess engines, it was quite a painful experience traveling back to the past, revisiting it and recognizing how poor I played in this match. I have to blame myself, but also that Deep Blue was not strong enough. This is something that you may not believe, but a free chess app on your mobile device today is stronger than Deep Blue. Yes, trust me. Yeah, and of course, if you have a chess engine like Stockfish or Commodore, and you have on your laptop, it's much stronger. And I just run these games, and it's one of the moments. I think game 5. Just looking at the end game, and the Deep Blue saved the game by miracle, and everybody talked about the great escape and phenomenal quality of chess. Today, you put it in the computer, it laughs. It shows within 30 seconds to a minute, depending on the strength of the speed of your laptop. Is that first it was a draw, Deep Blue made a mistake, then I made a mistake, missing win, and then Deep Blue saved the game. So that's okay. That's a Moore's law, I guess, and there's nothing wrong about it. Those 2 more matches I played in 2003. They both matches ended in draw. I played. Actually, they forced me to wear the glasses to play on X3D, as if playing machine was not tough enough. Yeah, I did well, so I was quite pleased with my accomplishment. But again, the story was over. So I knew it, and I just was thinking in the future. And just what gave me a good thought, just look at this picture. This is the kids. So you have the 90s, you have the beginning of the century, and then modern days. So kids, they just, they have to look at it's like a piece of antique. My kids will not recognize it. So then this is more sophisticated keyboards, and now they're sliding their fingers. So what is important that is, more intelligent machines make our task easier again. I'm telling you that, so you know better than anyone else. So unleashing our human creativity by clearing away the repetitive and technical tasks. So then I had a thought. How about combining the strengths of machine and humans? And let's use chess as an example, because in chess you have the result. You know exactly where machine is strong, and you know exactly what machine cannot do as well as humans. So I came up with a concept that I called advanced chess. Okay, following the famous Russian say, you can't beat them, join them. So I call this advanced chess. Man plus machine facing another human plus machine. So, and in 1998, I played another elite player, Veselin Topalov from Bulgaria. You can see this picture. We both had, again, pieces of antique. Now, the interesting thing is that we did not do well because we were not able to maximize the effect of working with the computer. And I just couldn't understand why. We're great players. So what's wrong with that? So why we didn't do well? And then, again, the answer came later with the introduction of the so-called freestyle chess tournament on internet, what I call invitation for cheating. You can play on internet, being connected to the supercomputer, you can have your own computer, you can have many computers, I mean, do whatever you want. Now, as predicted, human plus machine always dominated supercomputer. Again, the reason is very simple, because machine compensates for our weaknesses. So we get to a good position, then you can switch to the computer. So no more vulnerabilities of humans that can be exploited by the other machine. But the trick was not this, that was not a sensational result. The sensational result was that the winners of the competition, the first one, and that was repeated later, were not top players, but actually relatively weak players, working with ordinary machines, but having superior process. And that led me to make this formulation, which I think is quite important because it's hard to understand and it sounds like a paradox, that a weak player plus an ordinary machine plus a superior process will be dominant in the game against a strong player, even strong computer, and inferior process. Interface decides everything. And it's quite amazing that it's just, you don't need a strong player. You don't need Garry Kasparov. Just to be at the side of the machine, finding the best moves. And the answer is simple. Because when you look at the relative strengths of humans and machines today, and I will go beyond chess, but let's start with chess because in chess we have numbers. If you are aware with the ratings and the rankings in the chess world, just to give you an idea, when my top rating was 2851. When I retired, I dropped, I was 2812. Magnus Carlsen is traversing the 2800 territory as well. There are about 50 players or plus in 2700, early 2800 category. That's an elite of the world of chess. Now, today is the strength of the computer. It's about 3200. Now, and on dedicated software, it will be 33 to 3400. Now we understand why you don't need a strong player, because strong player like myself will be tempted to push the machine in this direction or that direction. I will be challenging machines' evaluations, while to the contrary, I have to be an operator. So a decent player that doesn't have the same pride, the same honor as the world champion or a strong player, will be far more effective in creating the human-machine combination. I think it's a very important discovery in chess, and I believe it goes beyond chess. For instance, in medicine, we know today that in many cases, machines are far more accurate in giving diagnosis than the best doctors. So would you like a good doctor to work with a machine, or a good nurse that will just follow instructions, will do a little guidance, but not will interfere? Because if, I don't know the exact numbers, but say the doctor will be good in 60-65% of cases, machine in 85%. Numbers are on the other side, but psychologically, if you are a good doctor, you cannot accept it. So when we look at the progress of computers these days, it's just basically we should realize that machines can, whether it's online translation, medical diagnosis, you name it, could be good at climbing at 80, 85, maybe 90%. But now, that's where we belong to, humans, the last decimal places. And it could make a hell of a difference. It's like, when we shoot a bullet, just, 1 degree difference in the angle, and it could, be 100 meters gap, wide on the target. So the same is here. It's about our ability to actually channel this massive computing power and just to find the right direction for that. So I still believe that with all the fears that machines are just going to replace us and just, it will be the end of the world, another Armageddon, I believe there's room. There's plenty of room. Because as I said, it's about human creativity. And these unique tools, intelligent machines, will enhance our creativity, unleash our creativity if we know how to use it. One of the, actually looking for the answers, sometimes you go offside, not in the, not searching in the world of science, but in the world of art. And I found quite a good paradox that was allegedly said by a great artist. Computers are useless, they can only give us answers. I think it's a piece of wisdom. Again, you don't expect, Picasso to be on the side of philosophy, but I find it quite encouraging, because machines find answers and an end. And Picasso could not accept ends. He was an artist. He had constantly he had to reinvent constantly his art. That's what we do. So this is exactly where we have to start asking questions. Can machine ask questions? Once I paid a visit to the Bridgewater, this is the largest hedge fund. The reason I wanted to talk to Dave Ferrucci, the founder of Watson. And we talked about machines asking questions. And we had a little debate, and he said, yes, machines can ask questions, but they don't know what questions are relevant. Thank you. So that's exactly the point. So we are still, we're still in the game. We're still in the game. We still have a chance to move on, and again, that gives me a lot of confidence that the game is not over. And just a few pictures. So some photos from the future of autonomous machines, and machines that essentially program themselves. So the one picture there is Demis Hassabis and his AlphaGo. Actually, this is probably the first machine that could be called a prototype of AI. As I said, Deep Blue, brute force. Watson, still, it's a transition, but it's not AI. Now, AlphaGo it's a deep learning program that keeps reinventing itself by looking for the patterns while playing millions and millions of games. Now, I can tell you that's the first time that we are dealing with real black box. Because with Deep Blue, for instance, if you had 100 years to spare and you'd be willing to look for thousands of miles of logs, you'll definitely go back to the original idea, why this decision was made. Now, with AlphaGo, I don't believe that even Demis Hassabis can tell you why version 6 plays better than version 9 or other way around. So it's a great accomplishment on one side, but on the other side, it might be challenging, because if there's a bug, so how are we going to find it out? But again, that's a move in this AI direction. And while I spoke at Google's HQ at Mountain View, and they gave me a tour of Google X. This is an interesting observation, because obviously there are many challenges for self-driving cars and for other projects, for the drones, flying drones, dropping goods. But the biggest problem actually comes not from, maybe I'm wrong. Another problem, probably as big as a technical one, comes from regulations. And this is an interesting question. People say, oh, machines are just, killing jobs, they're replacing humans. So what are we going to do? That's called history of civilization. That has been happening over millennia, hundreds of years. I think, to the contrary, the problem is not that machines are replacing human jobs now on the intellectual side. As I said, now machines are going after people with college degrees and Twitter accounts. Not too fast. I think too slow. And let me tell you why. Because it's a normal cycle. We just don't recognize that disruption means that the new technology, breakthrough technology, before it creates jobs, it kills jobs. It renders whole industries redundant, obsolete. And then it creates new jobs. This is a process. This is a cycle. Now, if you try to protract the agony by sticking with the old technologies, by whatever, printing money or just creating some artificial advantages for the old industries, you make this process slower and more painful. It's going to happen anyway, but the problem is that with so many regulations, we're just facing that many things are just being intentionally slowed down. I believe it's an even bigger problem than the challenges we're facing. And it's psychologically, people say, oh, how can we sit in a driverless car? Really? I just looked, back and found that 100 years ago, one of the most powerful unions in New York City was the union of elevator operators. Really? 17,000 strong. It's because people, by the way, technology to push the button was there already, but people didn't trust it. How can you get in the elevator and just to push the button? Why this union died and why people switched on? Because one day they decided to go on strike. Strike. And when people had to climb to the Empire State Building, they decided maybe you'd rather push the button. And I'm thinking now, 20, 30 years from now, our kids, our grandchildren, they say, are these crazy guys, they were driving cars? Look at the statistics. This is one of the greatest causes of human death. How could they afford to do that? And of course, it's pure psychology. So many accidents we know, people being killed in car accidents. But if you have one accident in a driverless car, that's a big story. Any glitch, any mistake, made with AI, with new technology, that's a story, front page of newspaper. But again, statistically, come on, simply, just look at numbers. Yes, I understand it's bad if you are in this tiny percentage. But as the humanity will all win if we just move forward, just without being paralyzed by this fear. It's a picture of the vast security center, and another question is now, because we talk about fake news and we talk about cybersecurity, it's a big political issue, and there are many calls. So how are we going to fight hate speech, for instance? So I do regular blogs for Avast. My new one that will be released in a couple of days it's about hate speech. As I say, it's the fighting hate, saving speech. Because we should realize that this problem did exist before. It's not that they're being invented, they're being magnified. Because the internet just involves millions and actually billions of people in. Again, I think it's good news, and we should simply realize that it's trying to stop it, trying to outlaw it, it's not going to work, because you will still have Putins of this world, you will have other, bad guys sitting elsewhere, that they will use our own technology created in the free world against us. So I think we should just embrace it. That's my view. So I always say it's about us. The answer is inside us. It's about our own strengths and our own confidence. And I say that intelligent machines will not make us obsolete. Our complacency might. So I think that it's just, we should just realize that, again, there's certain limitations in these cooperations of human and machines, but there's plenty of room. Just plenty of room, as it happened before. It opens new opportunities. It destroys the old world and creates a new one. And sooner we move forward, better we are. Now let's move to more of just it's a science fiction world. It's an interesting paradox that when you go back 50, 60 years, the science fiction was all positive. It was all utopian. And then gradually it moved from utopian to dystopian view. We don't want to hear about this future. By the way, it didn't happen just overnight. It was a time when people decided maybe it's too risky to do the space exploration. Actually, it is too risky. But just imagine that in 1969, when the Americans landed on the moon, the entire computing power of NASA was less than the computing power of any device in your pocket here. So this device is 1,000 times more powerful than Cray's supercomputer 40 years ago. So just imagine for a moment how much power we carry with us and how we use this. I'm not sure that Apple iPhone 7 is the same as Apollo 7. This has the same effect. And I think there's many great things that can happen if we start looking for, just for the sky, for the stars again, deep oceans. There's so many great things we can do. And again, we should realize that machines, they're offering us an opportunity to take larger risk. And I wanted to end up on a positive note. Is it positive? Actually, it is. No, by the way, the picture in the bottom, yes, it's not a Photoshop, it's a real one. Yes, I was in the office of the Terminator in 2003. Yeah. Oh, but he loved the game of chess. His kids, had this kind of mandatory lessons. Yeah, we played the game of chess. Yes, ended in the draw very quickly. And I'm sure he was so excited that 6 months later he ran for the governor of California. And won. Now, you think why the picture is there, why I call it positive? Because, set aside the first movie, in the rest of the series, it's not just, Arnold, who is always on a winning side, old but not obsolete, beating newer machines. But actually, it's a combination of what I described a few minutes earlier. It's an human plus an old machine plus a superior interface, dominating newest machines. So I guess it gives us a little bit of, just of confidence that working with machines and having the best interface, and I'm sure, you guys are just the best in the world who can do that. So this is how we move forward. And then for those who say yes, but machines will eventually get everything done. So this is, no matter what it is, they'll calculate everything because machines know the odds. They will calculate. Oh, it's not about calculating everything. By the way, the game of chess, for instance, is technically, you could call mathematically infinite, 10 power 45, number of legal moves. That's more than enough for any computer in the universe. But the most important thing is this, again, in the games, it's all, it's can be not calculated, but machine can be always ahead of humans. It's all about playing by the rules. And the rules are fixed. That machine can, just find the best path in these jungles. But now if we move into the just normal situation in our lives, are you sure that machines can be helpful all the time? Let's look at a very simple, ordinary situation, mundane. You have your computer running your budget. And you are in the store, you're buying a gift, an expensive gift. And machine beeps, you're off the limit. Machine knows the odds, but just one slight change. You have your kid next to you and it's his birthday, or her birthday. Now, how does it change the equation? It changes everything. It could be a wedding gift, or whatever. I can start adding these little things that will change everything. And I don't think you can simply, incorporate it into this equation. So definitely, we have a lot of room. It's like asking the question. Because the situation changes. And this is something that you may call ordinary. But I had something that's following the movies. I have something more dramatic. Let's look for something that is extraordinary. Empire Strikes Back. You remember this little episode? The Han Solo is directing his ship into the field of asteroids, and the C-3PO is just panic. The chances of surviving in this field are 3,720 to 1. Never tell me the odds. Now, this is interesting. It's just let's go from the humorous part to the real one. Who was right? Technically, C-3PO was right. The chances of surviving were slim to none. And maybe technically, being caught by Imperial Guard was a better option. Was it? Because humans could recognize that even if technically in the computer eyes, the chance of being caught by Imperial Guard, it's offered the better odds, that was not an option at all. So this is very important that in many cases, again, both simple, ordinary, and extraordinary, highly unusual, so we still have room. We still have room to move on and just to make all the difference. I'm saying that human leadership is still required. And sometimes that will mean going against the computer recommendations. So the essence of human leadership is not a question of knowing the odds, but a question of knowing what really matters. Not just today or tomorrow, but for the distant future. Call it human guidance, or you may even call it human interference. Interference with our intelligent machines. And I believe that will set the course for this century. Now, sometimes it surprises people that I'm such an optimist about intelligent machines, considering my personal experience. But I'm an optimist. It's uncured optimist by nature, I have to say. And I believe that you all too are optimistic about the future of humans and intelligent machines. Because what we should remember, our technology is agnostic. It's neither good nor bad, and it could be used for good or evil. The machines will keep getting smarter and more capable. And it's up to we humans to do what only humans can do. Dream. And dream big. So we can get the most out of these amazing new tools. Thank you. I 10 minutes, yes, exactly as planned, yes, so. I'm still a decent player, yes, managed some time.
Hi. Here.
Can I ask a question now?
Yeah.
Here, I have one. So I recently saw a Reddit post about a composition that the stockfish couldn't solve.
Sorry,
Is it possible to create a machine learning system that detects what problems are more likely to be solved for a human than a computer?
Do you hear the question? It's the sound is somehow, I don't know why, but the sound is just, it's quite...
In your left. I'm in your left.
It's just, again, it's just where, it's just, that's at the DEF CON conference and the...
The guy asking the questions
Yes,
right
okay,
there.
yes.
Here.
Oh yeah, okay, I can hear you, yes, okay.
All right. So I saw a composition that couldn't be solved for stockfish. So
Yes, I mentioned stockfish, but there are many other problems.
it's possible to create a machine learning classifier that detects what kind of opposition is easier to play for a human or more likely to be played better for a human?
Look, it's the first of all, we don't expect a machine to make a first move and to announce a mate in 17,555 moves. So, I think definitely we can use machines just for the best recommendations for specific styles. And that's, by the way, what the top players are doing. They're always looking for machines as the guides to help them to get to the positions that they like most. So, because again, you have to just recognize that machine evaluation is in 9 out of 10 cases is far superior to the humans.
All right, thanks.
Hello. Would you agree that real... Hi.
Yeah.
Would you agree that real intelligence requires free will and free choices that only humans can make, and Deep Blue and any computer program is actually written by people, and when you lose to Deep Blue, you don't lose to a machine, you lose to a programmers of those programs.
Oh.
So my question is, do you think we are in any danger of any kind of intelligence until computer can have free will?
We're moving now from the scientific domain to philosophy. As for Deep Blue, it's very clear. It was a product of a great work by humans. And in most of the cases, we're dealing even with AlphaGo and with Demis Hassabis team. It's still the result of the work of human intelligence. Now, whether machines could have a free will or not, I don't know. I used to believe that anything that we do, while knowing how we do that, machines will do better. But there are many things that we do without knowing how we do that, without even recognizing why it's happening. And I don't think it will be easy for machines, if possible at all, to grasp it. So, for instance, we have purpose, but we don't know what purpose is. So that's why I think it's as if you're talking about free will, which is somehow connected to the purpose. So I think it might be very, very distant future for machines to get on close to that.
Thanks.
Over here.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on human characteristics such as bravery and morality and the decisions that artificial intelligence can make related to that? For example, a vehicle choosing to hit a child or go off a cliff and kill a driver?
That's exactly the state. You may call it passion, because it's all different, human characteristics that cannot be quantified, at least easily quantified. And that's why I use the Han Solo example, because at the end of the day, when we're talking about bravery, it's very often go against the odds. So I think these machines, by definition, will not be able to grasp it since they are based on sort of finding the best patterns and sort of the best evaluations. And being brave and being passionate, very often, in most of the cases, goes against the precise calculation.
Mr. Kasparov, I have a question a computer would not consider important. What's in your flask, and may I try some? What is contained in your flask?
I actually have the stoli that you pulled out of your pocket. I think that's what he wants to know.
My pocket? Stolichne. No, it's not an advertising. You saw, I just dropped it.
Who will be the next human world champion? And do you think the young Chinese player Wei Yi has a chance to dethrone Carlsen?
Currently, Magnus Carlsen is the number one player, just not the world champion. He's still the dominant player. He will be turning 27 this year, so he's still quite young, though, but not very young by the modern standards. I think Wei Yi is 18 or 19. So I think Magnus will be facing younger players. There are two younger Americans like Wesley Son, Fabiano Caruana, and Wei Yi definitely, by definition, makes a potential challenger. Though it's to be the world champion requires more than talent and being young and energetic. You need probably an element of luck. But Wei Yi definitely is in the category of those who can and most likely will challenge Magnus Carlsen. Thank you.
You discussed primarily deterministic algorithms or even basic machine learning when you were talking about using machines as tools to supplement our intelligence. However, what do you say to the immense amounts of resources being poured into creating a strong AI or even putting a human brain into a computer?
Yeah, but again, I always have to confess, my ignorance, and sometimes I'm not sure I'm in a position to answer the question, but something that always, I was always struggling to understand whether human brains, let's imagine you can just separate it from our body, whether it can function separately. Because I don't know, and this is probably you guys know better, so how the brain's functioning outside of the body, whether the fact is that it's moving, so it's connected to our body, makes it work the way it works. Maybe not. We don't. But again, this is a kind of an experiment that definitely we'll see maybe again in the future. But my view is that it's the combination of the movements and other human factors and emotions create the mind that is it's bigger than just simply taking the brain and freezing it and using it as the device full of neurons.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hi. Sorry. Hi. I was wondering, in light of the trend of machines eliminating human jobs, what are your thoughts on the idea of universal basic income?
Yeah, this again is the...
Sorry, okay. What are your thoughts on the idea of of universal basic income?
No, it's thank you. It's a very important question because clearly we are moving reaching the point where a lot of people will be just left behind. Since it's kind of a paradox of the technological progress. On one side, we have great new technologies that gives huge competitive advantage to younger people. Just every new generation is far more sophisticated just by dealing with these devices. On the other side, we have a progress in medicine and a diet that helps people to live longer and just to keep their ability to work for longer years. So, but obviously, my generation at 50s and of course 60s and even in 40s, can hardly be competitive with the young kids just moving in. So we have to look for this paradox and for this growing gap, because we just have a gap that from history we know always led to big explosions. A gap between the social infrastructure of the society and the technological progress. And what you said is just probably it's a part of the solution, but the problem is that the politicians, they are just trying to dump it, just to the next elections. Nobody wants to talk about it because it's painful, because it basically challenges the very foundation of the sort of modern world order. It's much easier to do quantitative easing, and keep printing money. So thinking that somebody else will pay. So there's many paradoxes that make me feel uneasy, because for instance, the piling debt will have to be paid by younger people, but will they be willing to do it and keeping the social guarantees for the old generation that made this debt? I think we are just, there are more questions that I can ask than answers that I can produce. Hopefully AI can help us with that. But at the end of the day, it's very troubling that the political class in the free world for years, if not for decades, is trying to ignore the problems that we're just discussing now. Because these problems they're already manifesting. They're already on display. And just, ignoring the fact is that, we have the technological progress, the huge development in many areas is inevitably changing our lives. It's extremely counterproductive and it's basically neglecting on our future. Thank you.
That is all the time we have for questions. Thank you very much, everybody, and thank you, Mr. Kasparov.